Welcome to this evening's edition of Talking Films Online. Talking Films Online, or TFO in short, is an informal coming together of teachers, students, researchers, filmmakers, and cinephiles interested in cinema, more importantly, interested in talking and writing about cinema. The online group came together quite spontaneously during the pandemic and lockdown in June 2020, while Dr. Geeta Vishwanath from Baroda and I have been coordinating the activities of TFO since its inception. It would not have been possible without the enthusiasm of people who regularly join the discussion, like Ajanta Sarkar, Tarakeshwar VB, Sanjay Kumar, Sridhar Modugu, Paniraj, Rajan, Nandini Manjrekar, Gayatri, Madhurima, Rasha, etc. So far, we have organized over 160 online events, which include weekly discussions on a pre-decided film. Besides a few month-long film festivals and discussions, we have had, for instance, a short film festival that was curated by Dr. Nipa Majumdar, a French film festival curated by Abhijit Ranadev, an Iranian film festival that was curated by Dr. Praveena Cooper, an Adur Fest curated by VK Cherian, and now this Green January 2024, this month, where we are discussing films on farmers on all Saturdays of the month. We have had over 60 discussants just in the last 1 year, such as Madhav Prasad, Theodore Bhaskaran, Babu Subramanian, Satish Podwal, Saibal Chatterjee, Manas Ghosh, Basav Biradar, among others. As it has happened, filmmakers have often been very generous, making their films available exclusively for Talking Films Online members to watch by generously sharing links to their films. And they've also joined in the discussion as it has happened today. We've had directors like Jayant Cherian, Anjali Montero and KP Jayashankar, Uma Chakravarti, Gautam Santi and Uma Magal, Abhijit Banerjee and Devjani Haldar, who recently won the National Award, director Karan Bali, Amol Palekar, and recently the director of the Marathi indie film Trijya, Akshay Indikar, had also joined the discussion. TFO has a WordPress blog. We have people who send us their film reviews and articles, and we post it and share it on the blog. We also have a smartphone short film contest every year, which happens in June to mark the anniversary of TFO. We have had 3 editions of this contest so far. Our WhatsApp group and Facebook group is a forum to share film-related information, and we've had members sharing very interesting articles on cinema, besides, of course, the information that Geeta and I post about the TFO weekly events. Friends, this week in the Farmers Film Month, we will discuss today Kesari Haravoo's film, Kisan Satyagraha. Many of you who have joined the discussion would have already watched the film. To initiate discussion on this film, we have writer and journalist Amandeep Sandhu. I will be introducing both of them now. Haravoo is the director of the Kannada film Bhumi Geeta, which is the recipient of a number of national awards, such as National Award, President's Medal for the Best Film on Environment, Conservation and Preservation. It has won the Karnataka State Award also for the best film on social issues. Besides a host of other awards, it has participated in international film festivals such as the prestigious Global Earth Vision Film Festival in Tokyo, Japan, and the Sao Paulo International Film Festival in Brazil. Besides Bhumi Geeta, Haravoo has made a number of feature films such as Olleyavanu and documentary films such as Aghanashini and Her Children, films reflecting his concerns for the environment and other social issues. He has served as a jury member for a number of film festivals and film awards. He's also a founder of Darshana Film Society. Very warm welcome to you, Haravoo Kesari, for this evening's discussion. Amandeep Sandhu, who will be initiating a discussion today, was born in Rourkela, Odisha, and studied at the University of Hyderabad. He lives in Bangalore. He's the author of two novels, Sepia Leaves, published by Rupa in 2008, which is about a family living under the shadow of schizophrenia from a young boy's point of view during emergency. Another novel, Role of Honor, again published by Rupa, is about the split loyalties of a Sikh boy in a military boarding school in Punjab during the Khalistan movement, and is based on the events of the year 1984. The novel was nominated for the Hindu Prize in 2013. In late 2019, Aman published his non-fiction book, Punjab Journeys Through Fault Lines, which is published via Westland, which is part reportage, part memoir, part contextual history. The book was longlisted for the NIF Kamla Devi Chattopadhyaya Award 2020 and also for the Atta Galata BLF Non-Fiction Prize in 2020. The book has now been republished by Penguin Random House. Aman's ebook on India's mental health in the times of coronavirus outbreak is Bravado to Fear to Abandonment, Mental Health and COVID-19 Lockdown, which is available on Amazon. His essays and short stories have appeared in various anthologies, magazines, and websites. He also writes for The Caravan, Scroll, The Hindu Business Line, and others. Aman was a fellow of Académie Schloss Solitude, Stuttgart, 2013 to 15. He is now a Homi Baba fellow, that is between 2022 and 24, working on a book tentatively on the Sikhs who lived outside Punjab in India. Very warm welcome to both of you, Haravoo, Kesari, and Amandeep. And over to you, Aman, for your opening remarks on the film or around the film. Thank you.
That was such a long introduction. You got a cough. See? Where she disappeared?
I'm here. I'm very much here. Yes, yes. Yes. I just turn off my video and my audio.
I'll take about half an hour. I think that much is what is allotted to me.
Sure.
So, wish everybody, today is Lodi, a festival in North India, but tomorrow is Makar Sankranti, then there is Pongal, then there is Bihu. And during the protest, I wrote a piece on, actually, these are all harvest festivals, which also mark the transition of winter to spring. But do we realize with the kind of farm laws we had and the way they were going to envelop the farming sector in India, within 2 generations, we would have forgotten these festivals itself. And that's such a dire possibility. I mean, the way the world is changing already so much. If this had also happened, or might happen, I mean, that there is the corporates will keep coming at the farmers. See, a very interesting thing about this protest, which the film brings out, and I'm very thankful to Kesari for calling me home and showing me the film, and he has a lovely study place at his home, like so. And is that since the 90s, since liberalization, and before that we had the license permit Raj, but since liberalization, there has been this move of government wanting to withdraw from various sectors. And it has been doing it. Initially, they used to be called Navratna, and then government being in business was sort of, frowned upon. Public opinion became that private is better. Kesari is with us, but if he is not there for some time and comes back again, we were just today morning saying that it is because actually that he is traveling, he is in the countryside and he's on a BSNL connection. And remember what happened to BSNL. 20 years back, BSNL was everywhere. Then Airtel came, then Reliance came. And Reliance offered all these mega packages And then within 3 years, BSNL started dying, you know, and Reliance then started charging for its packages. So this is what they wanted to do even with the farm laws. The reason I'm telling you this is because basically the farming sector of India, which is about 100 million farmers, they are the largest private enterprise in the country. And during the pandemic or in the shadow of the pandemic, the government thought it very, convenient because everybody was trapped, everybody was staying indoors. There was all um, these buzzwords which were going around, that's social distancing and, the fear of the virus and all that. But they thought there will be no protest. They changed the labor codes and now they wanted to change the farm laws as well. They didn't recognize something here, which, as a Punjabi, as a Sikh born, and as working on Punjab, I know about that region of the country. And this is where I'll tell you a little story now. Is that these people of Punjab, you can't curb them. You can scare everybody, you can tell stories to everybody. People start thinking, okay, maybe, this. But Punjab is a very yes no kind of a place. So either they are doing something or they are not doing something. It's like that's the kind of mindset they have. And today, if you are seeing social media and there is a name coming up again and again, a name called Dulla Bhatti. His actually name was Rai Abdullah Bhatti. He was a hero, a folk hero of Punjab. He doesn't occur in the regular histories of Punjab, but he was a hero during Akbar's time. And his father and his grandfather were sort of local chieftains of a whole area called Santal Bar in the greater Punjab. And even in Akbar's time, we are talking about the 16th century, those farmers started protesting taxes. They said, we are growing food in our own land. What business does the state have to take taxes from us? Why should we give taxes to Delhi? Who is Delhi? So Akbar is considered this great messiah of the Ganga Yamuna Tehzeeb, what is called the plains of India, central India. But Punjab is its own kind of a contour. I mean, there are these 5 rivers running through it, and there was a whole different sensibility here. And those guys 500 years back protested against that. So what Akbar did is he sent his armies and he caught hold of both the father and the grandfather, and he got them executed. Now, Dulla Bhatti's mother delivered him 4 months after the father was killed by Akbar. There is a story, we don't know whether it is true or not. Akbar's own son, Salim, or later Jahangir, he was a weakly child. And Akbar tried to do this real politics. He thought, if I get the mother, Dulla Bhatti's mother, to give milk to the child, her anger against me will come down. So she breastfed both the children, her own son as well as the Mughal emperor's son. Now, Dulla Bhatti hears, as he grows up, he's playing with the boy, they become the best of friends, the future king of that time, Mughal India. But then he learns of the story of his father and his grandfather, and he goes back to his area and he wages a war against the state at that time. So, again, on the pretext of some negotiation, he's brought to Delhi, where his imprisonment, he's asked to, follow the dictate of the great emperor, and he refuses. And that is when he's executed, in Lahore actually, not Delhi, in Lahore. That was the capital of the Mughal Empire. Today, 600 years later, people still sing songs for Dulla Bhatti. And the song really is about how he started rescuing young girls from the Mughal forces. And he would adopt those girls and he would get them married. And so this is Sundriye Mundriye are children of a Brahmin who was under great threat that the Mughal forces would snatch my children. And he took care of them. He's considered the Robin Hood of Punjab. And today, Punjab does not remember Akbar. It remembers Dulla Bhatti. This is to give you an insight about how this Punjabi mind works. It will follow its heroes. It won't care who is in power. So even these protests that happened in 2020-21, they went back and took inspiration from another protest, which was 100 years before this, which was called the Pagli Sambhal Jatta movement. And that was against the British. And all of us who were watching this protest, we knew that in 1907, Punjab had won the protest against the British. The British had to repeal the laws. So in the time Kesari is making the film, he starts soon after the protest starts. And he goes up till the COVID because his cameraman got COVID. He goes up till that point, and then it is just, the protests would not end. They would go on, and he had to draw lines somewhere. There's also budget constraints. There are also all those things. But he captured the essence of the protest in his film, which is what this protest was about standing up and saying, no, you can't do this to us. The message about the laws, I don't think we need to go into the laws. If you want to, I can go, or we could do it in the question answer. But there was one major thing that was different between Punjab and between South India. Why I'm saying South India is because most of the names I'm seeing here are from South India. And that is that why, many farmers in South India, there was reports and all that coming, that they were like in favor of the laws. They said, good if the government or the corporate buys our land. And there is a history to this. The history is that immediately after independence, India had an acute food shortage. Acute. And India remembered what had happened in the Bengal famine, which was created by the British and Churchill. 4.3 million people had died. And an independent India did not want that to happen to its people. At the same time, science and technology was growing. So they wanted to, create a laboratory where they can grow new kinds of crops. So the dwarf quality wheat, rice from Philippines and other parts of Asia, which produces very well. These were brought to Punjab. This was the area chosen for it. That Punjab included Haryana in it. Western UP started growing sugarcane. So these areas started being developed under what was called the Green Revolution. Through Green Revolution, Punjab, which is less than 2% of India's land, started feeding the rest of the country for over half a century. 50% food, 60% food into the central pool would come from Punjab. And the farmers would get what is called MSP, a minimum support price for their crop. Now, Green Revolution happens in this area. Farmers get used to growing crop, and they don't have to throw it on the roads like they do almost every year in Karnataka. Tomatoes are thrown on the road, onions are thrown into the waters. The farmers didn't have to do it because the government would buy the crop from them. But in these 50 years, look at your own food plate. South is great in millets, but millets disappeared because wheat and rice would come through the public distribution system. Farmers who would be growing ragi here, they would not get any price for it. And so they stopped growing ragi. And like this, many other crops, the farmers of South India, they stopped growing because the public distribution system pumped in these North Indian grains into South India. So these farmers of South India, you can very well understand that for years they have not got money from their land. So they thought, okay, if the corporate wants to buy our land, we'll sell it to them. But the North India farmers had a different sense. They said, why not create what is called, the mandi, the APMC. Why not create 43,000 more APMCs all over the country? Why shouldn't the farmers of South India not get remunerative price for their crop? And according to the Swaminathan Commission, there are 23 listed crops. There are, of course, more crops and more should be added to the list. But this was a major demand of the farmers, that instead of driving South India farmers to desperation where they want to sell lands, they agree with the laws. Why not actually change the ecosystem, you know? And what you have been giving us on 3 crops in North India, basic 4 crops, wheat, rice, cotton, and sugarcane. Why don't you give it on 23 crops? Why don't you make these mandis all over the country? So there were 2 different points of view to the protest. But what happens in Punjab itself, when the protest, so the laws are formulated and passed by the parliament you all have seen that footage, how they were bulldozed through the Rajya Sabha. Mostly the same way in which the current new criminal codes have been bulldozed through the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. The speaker just gets up and reads out the name of the law, and everybody, I don't know how many said yes, how many said no, but no count happened. Similarly, it was done during the farmers' protest. Punjab just woke up to it. And about 43 or 48 places in Punjab started seeing a show of strength by people. They opened up the toll plazas. They closed the petrol bunks and the shopping malls that belong to those big businesses who were actually creating these large godowns to store the grain that they would now harvest from the whole country because they can corporatize the land. And Punjab started protesting. But on Constitution Day, 26th November 2020, Punjab said we need to go to Delhi. But it was hesitating at the borders. Farmers collected at the borders of Punjab, but they were hesitating because they had to cross Haryana and go. And the Haryana farmers rose up and they said, we will remove the barricades and we will march with you. So that was a brilliant, coming together of 2 states which have been otherwise, it's like Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, like fighting over river water. Though the scenario in Punjab and Haryana is different, but the politicians are fighting with each other. So much has happened in the separatist movement, militancy in Punjab because of river water. But immediately these farmers from both the states, they got together in solidarity. So the police had put up barricades, the police had put up, these big shipping containers. They had dug trenches in the road. They had put, concertina wire. They were using tear gas and water cannons. But the farmers just, with their tractors and their trolleys, they just broke through everything. And after breaking a barricade, they would rest a bit. And then at time for food, they would even serve the policemen. And that was again something that people didn't expect the farmers to do. So and then of course they reached Delhi, where they disagree on where they want to reach in Delhi. The government was offering them a ground, but they knew they will be circled there. So they stood outside Delhi, on the borders of Delhi. And there were 5 or 6 protest sites at that point. There was Singhu, there was Tikri, there was Ghazipur, there was Palwal, there was Shahjahanabad, and there was 1 or 2 others within Noida, which later on ended. So what I'm saying is that the farmers of all these northern states, Punjab, of course, but Haryana, Western UP, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, they all came together. They said, you are trying to snatch our land, which is what one of the laws said, that corporates will be facilitated to buy the farmers' land. You are going to put up private mandis. So just like the BSNL connection we talked about, government mandi would go down. It won't be able to pay the price the private mandi will pay for 3-4 years. Then government will not collect any revenue. Then the mandi will be disbanded. And then we will be at the mercy of a private mandi. So they said, no, we can't take that. Similarly, the Essential Services Bill, in which they were allowing unlimited storage for various businesses. There were some little caveats, but one can argue through them very easily. 67% of India depends on the public distribution system for food. So you can't just throw them out. The corporates would have played havoc with pricing. Even today, they play havoc with pricing. But if that law had come about, it would be like food crisis all over. Governments would have milked it. Notice in the last 20-25 years, government is winning elections, various governments in various states, on the basis of what free they would give. So food would have been held ransom like that, like electricity today, like transportation in Karnataka. So the question really is that what should be the nature of our state? The protest was asking that question. Is this still a socialist state where the country would, by the government would, ensure that everybody gets food, everybody gets education, everybody gets health facilities, and then we create a sort of an equitable ground on which everybody then competes with each other to come on top? Or are we going to privatize every little section of what people essentially need, and we are just going to say, okay, now get into the market and be rogered here? I mean, look in the last 3 years how India has fallen in the global food index. Of course, it has fallen on the media index as well. And that is what we will address, because what happened during the protest was that, see, Punjab, through its own history, it's a valorous region. You have to notice where it lies and what happened during partition. But what has been happening for 3,000 years in that part of the world is that it has been a gateway for traders and invaders and ordinary people to walk into the subcontinent. So I say it in the book as well that Punjab is the gateway to India. And the story of your gate is never the story of your home. Because on your home gate itself, there would be 10 kinds of things happening on the gate, but they will not enter your home. The rest of India below Delhi is sort of the subcontinent, which of course it became a country in 1947, but it was still, there was a concept of Bharata. But Punjab was extremely exposed to Middle East. It was exposed to the Huns, the Mongols, the Chinese, before that to Alexander, to all of those kind of people, Macedonians. So this region is a region of great churning, great wars, great genetic mix-up happening. And finally, it's like 200 years we have been here, and then you start defending the land, and your next invader should not come in. Like it's a place like that. All through its history, it has fought. But now, in the last century, there were times when Punjab fought, armed fight, and there were times when Punjab protested non-violently. That is why the film is called Satyagraha, because this was indeed a Satyagraha. And whenever in the last 100 years Punjab protested non-violently, Punjab won. Whenever it protested violently, it suffered more than it could damage whoever it was fighting with. It suffered, whether it is militancy or whether it is freedom struggle or all those types. So they decided that we are going to hold a non-violent protest. So they just came there, they set up tent, and they thought they're here for a week, for 10 days, negotiations will happen and they will go back. But government was being extremely clever and extremely apathetic to the real concerns, because they had passed the laws, you see. They had already given the corporates what they had promised the corporates. And it is these corporates who fund these governments. So it basically became a fight whether the government wants to sell out the country or these guys want to salvage their place. So it kept getting extended. And as it extended, the networks within the farmer protest started. The food and ration and milk and vegetables and and then the weather conditions, as depicted in the film as well, extreme icy cold. Then there was this pandemic, which was like every many good intentioned people started writing in media, oh, farmers should now retreat. But farmers said, we will either die here from the virus, or we will go back home and die in 3 years out of suicide. So what's the point? We'll stay here. And the farmers actually started supplying oxygen and medicine to the neighborhoods in which they were protesting. Then blistering heat. In those trolleys, it becomes so hot. 50 degrees, 52 degrees. Then monsoon floods. Everything was drowning. I mean, these tents were coming off every second day, but they persisted. 730 people died in the protests. The government still doesn't even recognize that number. But we have records, because perhaps this is the one protest that has happened in the world where we have a record of who all gave their life in the protest. Whether it was through climatic conditions, through illness, or through accidents. Many more died, but we know people who, if they caught a fever or if they fell ill, they would just go back home and they would die there and not be counted died in the protest. But many did that. Still 730 died. And even during COVID, that's when the film ends, but the rate of death per day did not increase too much. It was roughly about 2.4 and it became 2.67 and then it came back to 2.34. So the point is that these farmers just dug in their heels. And once they dug in their heels, then the government finally realized that the ground is shifting. This protest will impact the elections. UP became a big, government wanted to win in UP because it needs to, And because, they say the route to Delhi is through UP. So then they came up and they repealed the laws. But even when they repealed the laws, the farmers did not get up and go back because they know what chicanery the government is possible of doing, So they stayed there for another 20 days and they saw to it that it was repealed in the parliament. And then they came to some kind of an agreement with the government, which the government has not fulfilled. And now, right now, another protest is being planned. In fact, 13th February is the date given that they will go back to Delhi. People have started rallying around it. Of course, the initial unit, the Sangyukt Kisan Morcha, the 31, 32 farmer unions in it have split up. There has been a lot that has happened, but we can't cover it in this talk. But there are 18 of them who are now coming together again and saying, no, we need to go and protest. This is the last chance before the elections, because if we don't make an impact now, then after elections, if the same government comes back, they will never hear us. So they have a logic in that. To me, the most interesting part and the reason I participated in it, I have just 3 minutes more to speak, so I'll just come to that, is that in my life, Operation Blue Star and what the Delhi media propagated to the whole country about Punjab in the 80s has been a watershed moment. Because before that, growing up outside Punjab, I saw my father respected. Everybody would call Sardar Ji. But after Blue Star and then after Black Thunder, twice we were even about to be lynched in trains traveling from Punjab to Odisha. There were people sneering at us. The Sikhs had become this demonic figure in India. Congress won the 1984 elections by demonizing Punjab itself. Then there was this anti-Sikh pogrom, genocide that happened. Punjab lost its narrative. Until then, partition, 65 war, 71 war, Punjabis were the greatest farmers, Green Revolution, the greatest soldiers of the country. But now they suddenly became like, oh, they are terrorists. But in 2021, there was a chance because the media was going the same blazing way against, oh, these are anti nationals, these are separatists, they want to break the country and all that. And the local media, now there's a new generation which is educated in Punjab, which knows how to use the internet, how to use YouTube, how to use Facebook, how to use WhatsApp. Local media came up within the protest, which very steadily countered the Godi media narrative of the protest. So finally, what happened is that the farmers' narrative prevailed, and within that, Punjab's narrative prevailed. So to me, it was like I was 10, 11 when Blue Star happened. I was however old now I am, but it took us 30 years, 40 years to actually for Punjab to regain the narrative. And that to me, as of now, is the greatest victory of the protest because conditions on ground haven't changed. What really the protest did was it undid the wrong that was going to happen. But agriculture in this country is anyway in great crisis. And that is another topic for another discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amandeep, for giving us such a wonderful overview and also contextualizing this film in such I mean, in like a long history and also in terms of the issues that the film itself talks about. The film is now open for discussion and also the issues that Amandeep Sandhu has just raised. Anyone who wants to come in at this point and respond to the film, respond to the issues, you're most welcome.
May I, Nikhila?
Yes, please go ahead, Geeta.
Yeah. No, I just have one observation to make, and that is I think the film has great archival value because, the protest, the farmers' protests in our recent history has been, one of the most significant events that have occurred. And the film very nicely puts together a narrative of these protests. And that is why I thought it was like a really valuable archive.
Okay. Okay, Geeta. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else who would like to come in at this point?
Yeah, I want to say something.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah, basically, I have not watched the film, but whatever discussed here, I just want to say about this means how this farmer community can grow in India. Basically, I do not much aware about the law coming for the farmer, but until unless farmers will not get proper value and support to for their means financial support and also organic farming and upgradation in coming in the existing farming, they will not grow. And 60% people of India are live in village. They do the farming, but they are not getting their price. Also, there is some issue like water is not available there, and they don't have so much money to develop their land. So privatization or something else is required. How farmer can get the revenue double income means we can say how whatever the issue means someone come take on lease on that farm, they put money on that farm to develop that one, and increase the productivity, and automatically the revenue will increase for the farmer. So ultimately something has to be done. Otherwise it will continue, because as on date, where water is not there, you can say farmers don't have money to develop their farms, or to go for organic farming, or to means to leverage the various schemes of the government. Until unless we will not take care of farm, because Punjab may be different, because there are large scale of farming and they are developed also. But if we see this Rajasthan and other area, so farmers really need support from others who come and make their farm more productive and more revenue can be generated. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bhavani Singh ji. Yes, Amandeep.
Can I
Yes,
just
please.
respond to that, Bhavani
Yeah,
ji?
sure.
Yes,
The
sir.
majority of the protesters were small and marginal protesters. They have about 2 to 5 acres of land. Almost all of them are under loan of 3 to 5 to 7 to 10 lakh. You are very right that farming has to change. But for farming has to change, policy has to change. Just giving off your land on lease and eating poison. Today, our regular food plate is poison. The amount of fertilizer. Punjab still produces bumper crop. What's the point of bumper crop? It should not be producing bumper crops. The policy changes, everything changes. That should be our argument, not that some private guy comes and takes our land and then gives us a little extra theka, what is called, extra revenue for it. That's not the end of the problem. Solve the problem, policy has to change, and Mr. Swaminathan has written his report, given the report in 2007. He has a million well policy in the report, how to recharge the groundwater, how to make water available. Neither Congress nor BJP implemented it. BJP promised that they will double farmers' income by 2022. Has it been doubled? Unless we hold the politicians accountable, all that we can suggest is stopgap arrangement for one farmer or two farmers, not for 100 million farmers of the country.
Without any changes, not possible to double the income. The same
Change
thing will
policy. Change, focus on policy. Focus on what the country really, which direction we should be going at. The world contribution of agriculture to GDP is 4%. In India, it is still 15%. And I am not in favor of earning more and more money. You should look at the farms in Europe, in America. I have lived there. You buy a cauliflower, you buy a tomato, you put it on the table. After 6 weeks, it is fresh. Is that what they're going to eat? How are they going to digest it?
Yeah.
All these GMO crops are poison. They are pure poison. Productivity is not the end. Money is not the end. Sustainability is the end. Energy is the end. And for that, we need to have policy change. Change is required, but policy change.
Yeah. Thank you, Bhavani Singh and Amandeep, for your response. So others who want to respond to the film, or let me just fill in the gap by talking about my own sense of the film. Kesari Haravoo, I watched your film via the film Freeway, and I must say that it was like reliving what we were reading, a couple of years ago, day in and day out. With the same kind of desperation that we were going through shock, through the kind of unresponsiveness, seeing the unresponsiveness. It was like we were once again reliving those moments that we were going through in the last 2 years in 2021 when the protest was happening. Also, one of the things that I noticed in the film is the way in which you juxtapose interviews, probably the interviews that you have yourself, you and your team have conducted for the purpose of your film, with footage from television news channels, as well as with a voiceover talk with experts, on the issues. And also this voiceover, which is kind of weaving a narrative out of these, disparate sources from which you are trying to put together a narrative. The way, the technique in which you have pieced together this film from a variety of sources, in a way, it gives us the government's perspective, because there are the people, the dramatis personae from the state, who are making all their pronouncements. And on the other hand, we also have the people who are protesting, who are telling us what this means. So there is narrative that is a particular kind of narrative that is attempted to be constructed from the point of view of the state. There are the counters to it. So it's all there in your film. So in a way, it's an extremely, it was at one level, by the end of the film, it was quite exhilarating, because we are not used to see, even if it means success within quotes, we are not used to seeing success, but here was an instance of success where, the farmers won the day. And Amandeep, I think the version of the film that we saw yesterday kind of has the complete narrative arc. So it does not stop with COVID. In fact, it goes right up to the end, till the repeal of the farm laws. And then, there are also verbal inserts which tell us, so what are the implications of this, and so on. So maybe Haravoo, Kesari may tell us more. Maybe he is kind of adding footage, making the narrative more complete, or whatever, as the film has gone along. But one question I had for Kesari was the voiceover. It sounded like an AI generated voice. So I was just wondering, because I haven't heard anyone use a voiceover, like it sounded like the voice that we hear on Google Maps. So I was just wondering if you can tell us a little bit about the voiceover that you have used, and also anything else that you want to respond to, Kesari Haravoo. Anything that you want to say right now, or you want to hold back your response till others respond, whatever is comfortable, Kesari Haravoo.
I would. Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry. I'm traveling, and right now I'm in a suburban area in Hassan, where the BSNL no network is dwindling. I don't know when I go off air. Please excuse me if I go off air. And well, Nikhila, I would like to tell about the AI voice. Yes, you're right. The voiceover for English version was an AI voice, or yeah, it's an AI voice. Well, we ran out of funds. That was it. And in fact, I wanted to complete the English version too. And in Kannada version, we have the voiceover with my good friend and an actor, Suchindra Prasad, giving his voice as voiceover. And yeah, we could not actually fund for English voiceover. So as I lost, this thing, so I had to, go for a computer generated voice. So you're right, and I does it really, disturb the viewing? I would like to ask you.
Not disturbed, but it was the first time I was, we are used to the voice only in a particular context, which is when you listen to it when you're driving. But to hear
Yes.
a whole documentary with this voiceover, it was interesting for me. So it was just that I wanted to ask you how it came to be, but now it makes perfect sense to know why you chose the voice.
Yeah. In fact, this film was, funded. Well, the budget of this film was funded half by my friends and almost about 80 to 100 friends of mine funded half of this film, and another half was raised as a soft loan, and even in fact, I only shot for about 38 days yeah, on the borders and some 6 to 8 days in Punjab, Haryana, Uttarakhand, and all. So, in fact, had I given a good, free budget or a, comfortable budget, possibly I would have shot for 100 days minimum. That was the condition with which no we began shooting, and we somehow pulled on till the agitation was over, and that was a great challenge for us. And uh, we had to manage with the kind of footage that we gathered for 38 days on the borders. That was one thing. Well, I wanted to actually go deeper into some characters and I really wanted to spend more time with some of the characters and some of the women activists, but this could not I could not do so because of the money constraints, and we could not stay on the borders for long and continue shooting, paying for our cameras and sound equipment and everything. So that was a major constraint for us, but I'm happy at least we could do this much.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Anyone else wants? Yes, Amandeep, please go ahead.
Kesari Haravoo, please. I mean, like, what you have done is incredible. And I actually saw the rough cut, and it ended very well. I mean, all the resolution and all that happened. But I know, because I know how he struggled. And please don't mind it I'm saying it on a public forum, but I mean, when there is something going on like that big, those who were there, we know how big it was. But others who believe in the filmmaker, others who believe in the cause, whenever such a thing comes up again, please fund it. Because I know how much he struggled to raise funds and how little he was getting. He should not be apologizing on his film here. I think it is we as a middle class society which failed him. And yet he could deliver it to us. There were 5 people who were making films at that point. One is he, there is Nishtha Jain, there is Nakul Sani, there is Randeep Maddoke, and there is a woman, Novita, and there is another guy whose film I recently saw. He actually finished it. The others are still struggling to raise money and complete their edit and post production and all that. It's already been 2 years since the protest ended. And I mean, I know Kesari would have wanted to go deeper and deeper, but this protest was so humongous, so large, that you can't. I mean, these Nakul and Nishtha, they were like constantly at it. Novita was carrying her own camera, her own stand, everything on her own, and walking through everything. Like filmmaking is a very, very expensive proposition, and nothing works like a film, because the film really, when I saw it, I said, I'm getting goosebumps. I mean, I'm back in the protest. So there is no need for a filmmaker to apologize here. If anybody has to apologize, it is us who are conscious people who want to, see things develop. We know what kind of a regime we live in. We know there is no NFDC to sponsor this, and we know how much private equipment charges have gone up. So many people helped him, but I think it's great when it came out. It's great message gone out. Everybody has learned from the film, and I just hope it achieves that one thing that any such film needs to do. Archival, yes, as Geeta ma'am said, but it sensitizes us to these concerns. And next time when somebody comes with a call to us, we check the credentials of the person and we give a little more. I mean, we reduce that one dinner going out, that one extra drink, and we just give the money here. Like that's my appeal to everybody.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Anyone else who would like to come in? Please unmute yourself so I know you want to speak. Maniraj sir, Tarkeshwar.
No, Akhil, I
Yes.
just wanted to, because you said AI voiceover. So when I saw Haru, I think Haru is hearing it. It's one of the feelings. Of course, immediately after, say, abrupt cut so that it could be shown to Kannada audience in one of the screenings which was made in Bangalore. The voiceover was Sukindra Prasad's, and the discussion, instead of being on what is the content of the film, etc., it turned out to be on Sukindra Prasad's voiceover. I mean, I am telling it in a very lighter mood because Haru also knows that why you chose Sukindra Prasad, who is having a kind of a reactionary views about the things which are going on, and who is in his political stand, who is against the very idea of the film, why he has to choose Sukindra Prasad. And Haru was visibly upset that the discussion was going in that direction. And when you brought that AI voiceover, I thought it would have been most neutral for even Kannada if you had used the AI voiceover. Because that was the kind of a situation when discussion took place when it was screened in the first cycle in Karnataka. That was, I want to bring it to Haru's memory, because Haru encountered many such discussions where it sometimes frustrating for a maker that the discussions will land into that. Today, Amandeep ji gave a very broad perspective in which we have to view this film and understand its politics. That's enlightening. The one thing, what when we saw the film in the first release, when it was shown to the Kannada audience, well, that first it was a kind of a, as Amandeep ji said, it was a sensitization that when we wanted to think a whole picture within with a clarified idea of what was from the beginning to end what it is, because what we were seeing were fragments, bits and pieces from our newspapers, no complete account. And even the within Karnataka, when we are supporting that movement and doing some street struggles in support of it, we were not having a complete view of what is been transpiring for the whole period of time. So it has to be put in a framework and say that this is this, and we have to go from here to understand the whole process. So that we thought was our biggest contribution of Haroon. I mean, to putting it in the sensitization of the whole moment into one whole and bringing it to our intellect, that to think about it. And the second point, what we were discussing about, that is, at that time, I remember Haru told today that he was for 38 days. The discussion was going on because at the one part of the film, the Dalit farm laborers complaint also comes in about how the jats are, the landowners used to treat them, and they were telling their own views about how they are being treated, but how they gelled themselves into this movement and coming back. And there were some questions raised that he could have focused more on that dissident voices Then Haravoo has said that he has shot for around 170 hours and he has used only a little more than 1.5 hours for this film. He is having another 3 films to make out of it, for which he is running short of funds, post-processing and doing the fund. So that much story he has shot, and that much more perspective need to be culled out of this particular his exercise. That he said that someday we may expect it, because I cannot show all 170 hours of footage to you and all that. So in this background, what Amandeep ji described is enlightening for us, because we are only focused on entirety of understanding the process of the moment to Haravoo's film. It was needed for us to get the holistic view and to go further and to understand much more. And when it was showed, it was an open-ended one. That still there are some questions to be answered, and how the movement will take place and what next. So it was open-ended, and still it is now. When I see this version, it's also open-ended. I like that open ending in a sense that it's a process. The farmers movement, as Amandeep ji said, has to be understood from the historical perspective to the present, and then to be taken forward. While taking the forward as an artist, a documentary filmmaker, shows the open threads from where the future has to wave it along, and it is the responsibility, of course, the financial responsibilities apart, it's also intellectual responsibility that a documentary gives us to wave our ideas into what next and how we have to go about it. Because it's not only Haru who has to talk about it, each and every one of us has to talk about it. The film gives us that space. That was one of the good things what I saw in that film. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Paniraj sir, for letting us know the kind of discussions that the film generated when it was screened earlier. Others who want to respond, anyone who wants, yes, sir, Nagargare Ramesh sir, please go ahead.
I have something to say to Mr. Amandeep. First, I want to thank him for giving us those 2 episodes of the resistance the Punjabis showed. One was to Akbar and the other one was against the British, because we did not know anything about that. Apart from that, I have a question for him, and that question is, this is an election-related question. Now, almost all the people in India, especially the farmers, also know that the dispensation at the center is very unfriendly. This is almost anti-people. But still, how is it that the party in power at the moment, it seems to be gaining in popularity? Does it mean to say that this communal agenda of the present government is more appealing to the people than their own problems? Because Punjab is different, they have AAP. But in UP, Rajasthan and other areas, there are also farmers, and the farmers also know full well the implications of these farm laws. But still, anyway, at this distance, we don't know much about it. But what appears to be there is that there is some sort of an appeal of that one man or one party, well, to all these people. Well, I wonder how to understand this, how one can understand this particular phenomenon of the party in power still enjoying the popularity, the support of all the people, in spite of these anti-farmer laws and also several other anti-people laws. That's it.
Sir, that is thank you for asking that question, but it will take us into a wholly different direction, and
I know.
frankly, none of us have cracked it yet. You know, the one thing we see very apparently in front of us is that hate sells in this country at this point. And let's not go into it too much. You can take my number from ma'am and we can talk about it personally. I mean, here we have gathered to talk about the film.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Yes, thank you. Anyone else who wants to come in now? Ajanta, yes, please go ahead, Ajanta.
Yeah, so Nikhila, I'm going to sound very, what shall I say, illiterate because, like you, I just maybe not even like you, so my knowledge of this entire protest is only through the Godi media or what I saw from very, very far away. But I loved the introductory comments. So I have some questions, and I was reminded, I don't know if they're disparate comments, so one, a book I've been reading lately is the Ashish Agarwal book on Tarkovsky, Ghatak, etc., where he talks precisely about how the political filmmaker today is a hacker, and he should be. So I'm really happy that the filmmaker Haravoo saw, the fantastic product that he produced, even just using used footage. So that I don't completely agree. I agree that the state is very, very afraid of what the cinema means. But okay, so I want to say several things. So one, about the narrative form, I think it's a documentary that's coming from within the independent space, and there are many, many interesting questions about narrative form, etc. But I want to go back to the more political question. I'm not sure, but I'll say it anyway. So first of all, I don't know that India has ever been, quote unquote, a socialist country, sir. And the trajectory of socialism is a very, very troubled one. What I loved about the film was it began with, that thing about Klaus Schwab's, the World Economic Forum. And I was reminded very much of, I think, several lectures, Gayatri Spivak's my favorite, where she talks about this really complex philosophical line between what's happening in Davos and what's happening in Punjab. And those are the lines that I think this film for me traced. And of course, that we are now seeing capitalism playing out in the East, and these are journeys that we do not know. And I have not cracked anything at all, but Tamil Nadu is a good example of how MDR, for instance, was phenomenally popular, though he had very, very anti-people policies. And there has been some discussion about how technology, new media, the new populist mobilizations, how they function as a counter. So I think this film raises both really very, very significant narrative, aesthetic, and relatedly profoundly political, philosophical questions. So sensitization, of course, but so this is, I think, I don't know if I've ever understood Spivak, but what he's saying really is this persuasion, or what Amandeep sir is saying as sensitization, because the largest sector of the electorate in some ways has been denied the right to intellectual labor. When democracy becomes reduced to body count, how can that be sabotaged? And critically for me, therefore, the project of imaginative arts and documentaries like this. So in short, I just want to also thank TFO because I would have never watched the film otherwise. For me, it was really a revelation and I loved it. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Ajanta, for bringing in so many different points. Anyone who wants to now come in, or Amandeep, do you want to respond to Ajanta?
Oh, no, of course. I mean, socialism is a very fraught category to bring in here. But my point rather is that what should the state be doing in this time? I mean, is it only going to, loot the poor and enrich the rich, or do we have a different idea of the state? The irony that struck me the most in the protest was that when these farmers came, so Delhi people also came to see the farmers. So it was like the producer of the food is first time talking to the consumer of the food. Until then, the producer produces, gives it to the market, and the consumer goes to the shop and buys it. There's no connection between the producer and the consumer. And you know what the discussions really were? Oh, how much do you sell the wheat for? Oh, this is how much we buy the flour for. How much do you sell rice for, or paddy? And oh, this is how much we pay for rice or mustard or oil or all these things. And the gap between them was the farmer gets 1/4 or 1/5, in some cases 1/10, 1/20th of the price that the middle class consumer is paying for it. So the question here is, who is getting all these 4/5 or 9/10 of the prices? That is where our problem lies. And that is this whole huge agro marketing, food processing industry that we have. Because the producer is not getting it. The consumer is paying such a high price. And what is happening? Where is the money vanishing in between? That is the question all of us need to ask. And what are you getting for the price you're paying? I mean, today, if I go into this big shop near my house, there are 10 types of rice lying there, which range from, like, I think about 55 rupees to 95 rupees a kg. But how much is the farmer getting from it? Some 10 or 12 rupees per whichever kind of rice he has made. So that is the question. And we all need to be involved in it. If you remember the barricading that happened of the protest after 26 January, the barricading was not for the farmers. They were open. They could go back to their villages and come. The barricading was for Delhi people, the middle class who would rather not go near a concertina wire, who would rather not cross a police chowki, because that gun is there, you see. It actually became like what West Berlin was at one point, Delhi became that. And the rest of it was GDR, like it was all open. Though, of course, the policies in the GDR were much worse.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else who would like to come in now? Yes, Tarkeshwar, go ahead.
Thank you, Kesari Haravoo, for the film, and thank you, Aman, for the wonderful introduction. I think the two issues have emerged here. One is about can we have a complete idea about this mass movement, which was unprecedented in a way. Yes, there were movements, there were protests earlier, mass rallies, even in Karnataka in 80s and 90s, when Raita Sangha was at its peak, 1 lakh farmers occupying the Bangalore, and then, but it was for 1 day or 2 days, an event. It did not run for months together and years like that. So in that sense, this event was unprecedented. And as the movie and others have said, we had a particular kind of version through media. And when I say media, there are 3 kinds of media through which I was getting the information. One was the print media, which was more or less balanced. Balanced in the sense that there used to be both voices. And then the electronic media, which was actually more one-sided. And then the social media. When I say social media, there are 2 kinds again. One is Facebook, where different people used to air their opinion. And then there were WhatsApp groups of my high school friends, family friends, and the kind of things that were getting circulated there, which were more or less echo chambers. So in that context, somebody going there and then documenting the entire movement, it is not simply making a film, but you have to be part of the movement for so many months together, leaving your house and being there. In that sense, it is also a very hard work that Kesari Haravoo has put in, I think. That is one point where I was trying to say that, but my opinion of the entire movement was formed not based on any one source, but based on different sources. So I was forming my own narrative in that sense. So this movie makers, as Aman was trying to say, there are 4 people or 3 people who are making the movies, or even there may be more in terms of using their cell phone to capture the moment that they were having. And then there is a point of view. The movement was so vast and it was not happening in one place. There were several borders in which these peasants were, or the farmers were sitting together. And then no one can be present in all the places. Even the so-called corporate media with multiple cameramen couldn't be in all the places at all the time. This I could, and they also present only a particular point of view where the footage is available to them or where they choose to be. This becomes clear to me when I was watching the news after the death of Dr. Rajkumar, and the national media was covering it, the local media was covering it. For example, NDTV. NDTV had one cameraman and one anchor covering the entire thing. They were standing in one part of Bangalore and they were saying as if the entire Bangalore was burning. While the Kannada media, electronic media had 3-4 cameras in different parts of the town, and they were giving a different picture. So what comes through the camera and how it gets projected will form a kind of narrative. So in that sense, it is important. In that sense, this film is also important because it tries to abandon a particular perspective by culling out material from different sources, footages from ANI, and then the DD, and newspaper clippings, and experts' opinion, and then the interviews themselves of the people who were part of this mega event. And then also their speeches, and also the speeches of the people who are trying to handle these things being as part of the state. So in that sense, the film is trying to balance the various sources and try to weave a narrative. But my my point is that if you shot the movement for so many months, there must have been long footage of different kinds, and choosing itself to weave a narrative of 1.5 hours is not easy. So there is some kind of principle that guides your selection of the footage, but your anthropological work, I would say that being there as part of the movement and then recording it, it's a kind of anthropological. I would have loved the personal voice to be heard rather than the kind of voiceover. Being part of that ethnographic work for so many months, and including what you said now about what you expected when you went there, and then you ran out of funds. Again, you have to come back, and then you need to pull your resources again, and again you have to go back. So that kind of narrative, weaving it as part of the footage, would be interesting. I hope there will be one more film comes out of that, where there is more personal voice rather than trying to kind of balance the various points of view. That is one point. And the second one, the issue that came out, why in spite of these widespread protests, a particular party wins. And I don't have to tell this to Nagargere Ramesh. The left is always wondering about these issues. People who are part of the labor movement in their factory and outlet, when it comes to elections, they don't vote for the communist candidate, they will vote for other things. Because they don't have one single identity as a worker or a laborer, but they have other identities too. So how this multiple identities play out in the context of a election is an interesting point. So if we had only one identity, then it would have been a different case altogether. Thank you. Thank you, Aman, and thank you, Kesari Haravoo, for this wonderful discussion.
Okay. Yeah, any response either from Aman or from Kesari? Would you like to respond, Kesari Haravoo? Tarakesh was also asking about your principle of selection with regard to the what you chose to use for the final film. Would you like to say anything about it, Kesari? If you have, okay,
Well,
please go
hello.
ahead.
Yeah,
Sir,
I'm
yeah,
extremely
were you
sorry. I
able
was
to,
out and
were you
I could
able
not
to
really
hear?
listen to. Yeah, I'm quite able to hear the speakers. I thank them all, but I don't know if I am audible to all of you.
Yes, you are very much audible. Yes, please go ahead.
With the footage I have, I think I can make another two films or two versions of films, provided I have the opportunity of funding it and also time. So. Possibly, I think I will write to all the responses in a later course. I think the network is too bad here, and I cannot really respond to all the questions. I think I have listened to the questions, and I will try to answer them tomorrow. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This has been the case with me.
Okay, okay, sir. No problem. No problem at all. Yeah. Any
I'll just, one
yeah,
of the
sure.
categories, actually two categories that Tarakeshwar mentioned were, I belong to them. So let me answer those at least. So what had happened is that my book on Punjab got done in October 2019. And then the anti-CEA protest happened, and then COVID happened. And the book almost like looked to me like it would just sink in all that, that had happened. But when the farmers' protest happened, a lot of journalists started calling me, and that was a point that was earlier also made. The print media. So the corporate line, which was the editorial pages, were of course pro-government, but they were brave and exploratory journalists on the ground who were trying to project the farmers' point of view. And that is why even I went and, they called me in Delhi, and I went and wrote the large pieces on the protest of what was going on. And then I started doing this every second day or something. Because I had all these networks in Punjab because of my book and also because of the protest and covering it on ground. So my selection of what I was putting out on social media, in fact, after the protest, I collected everything to see how much did I write. And I wrote about 1,25,000 words, And the posts would start going viral, and they would come back to me as WhatsApp forwards and all that kind of stuff. The reason, my selection, A, was definitely pro-farmers. There was no conflict in my mind. I am not trying to play neutral here. I am telling you the farmer's story. The reason I did it, because I sensed a gap. The gap was that the protest was happening in Hindi and Punjabi. But rest of India does not know those languages. So I, being a writer in English, I was translating what was going there to the larger public outside and internationally. Many foreign universities called me to speak. And I would always project the farmer's point of view because it was not me who was doing it. It was I was standing in with the farmers and trying to articulate their point of view, which they were doing very well within the protest, but it needed to go out. Also, we being close to the protest knew what was going on in the Sanyukt Kisan Morcha, this collection of 32 unions. And I was very deliberately hiding all the kachra that was going on there. Because I mean, these unions can't stay for a week together. The reason they stayed like this was because among the protesters, there were 70, 80-year-olds who I call the grandfathers and grandmothers of the whole region, Punjab, Haryana, Western UP. And these old people who had seen partition, who had seen the Punjabi Suba movement, who had seen 1984, who had seen militancy for 15 years in Punjab, who had seen what the new Akali or Akali BJP or Congress governments had done on ground, they had come and they were sitting, they were holding vigil there, vigil on these farmer unions because nobody could trust them. But these oldies came and they said, we are on vigil here. We are watching them, lest they do anything notorious here, break the protest, or try to gain some personal benefit from government and compromise the protest. And it is because of these, who I call the bebes and the bapus, the grandmothers and grandfathers, that the protest succeeded. So I was not giving out a lot of things that were, a lot of assault was happening from the government as well on the sidelines of the protest. A lot of it. But we were trying to curb all that and just present the political point of view or the happenings of the day within the farmers. So that was a selection of material, very clearly an editorial line running in my head at least.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yes, Tarkeshwar.
No, in fact, I suggested to TFO this film and Aman as a discussant precisely because of the social media. I knew about what they are doing through social media. I could read Amandeep, though he's not my friend on Facebook, but others used to share it. And I used to know what he is writing about. So then I know, so in that sense, this film and the protest is also about a statement on media, both the protest as well as the film. It comes out in that we don't trust. And in fact, as part of the agitation, well, in rally, they're shouting against Godi media. So in that sense, it's a lesson in management of the perception of the narrative and the question of social movement today. And in that sense, this particular movement was effective. I could get the other perspective too through social media. I could get to read what Amandeep is writing, what others are writing, and I could know that Kesari Haravoo is doing a film on that. So in that sense, use of social media was a kind of eye opener in this movement. And the second point is that, but the social media and the state are also have learned the lessons from it. And the social media is not the same what it was 3 years back. That also we need to keep in mind. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tarkeshwar. Anyone else who wants to come in? I had specially invited Gayatri and Maitri to join the discussion. So would you like to say anything, Gayatri or Maitri? Paniraj, yes, sir.
Yeah. I know. I just wanted them to talk. Of course. One more thing I want to add. Haru also discussed that in one of the screenings and bring it to the Amandeep perspective that this whole movement is not just about farmers movement. That Haru was also aware of because immediately after this particular movement started, there was apology from farmers to what happened in Muzaffarnagar, the violence in Muzaffarnagar, and apology to the whole community that they have committed that kind of heinous violence against the community. And the first time I can see in India that any communal violence, of course, not justice being done by state of any rule by any party, that communal violence goes unpunished, and the kind of heinous violence which has happened in Muzaffarnagar. First time you can hear from civil society as a group, farmers apologized to the whole community and said that they will never let that thing happen again, and they did follow their words with the deeds post this moment when communal disappearance was opened in Uttar Pradesh and Haryana. So that was one of the positives that we have taken. Yeah, there are many things we have to answer, many things farmers movement and the has to answer, but these are the things which happened historical. I mean, which has not happened post 1990 or even the history of criminal violence in India. That kind of civic response does not happen, and there is a sense of moral justice which is coming out from this moment, which we can see in Wrestling, I mean WFI's case when Sakshi and the Sakshi was deposing and was fighting and they are supporting it wholeheartedly, and it has become a moral voice for support of any kind of resistance. And even when the recent parliament that mishap happened, the farmers were the lone civil society voice to come up and say morally that this is this and this we stand on behalf of this. So that is, I think, is a broadening of the idea of democracy and broadening of justice. Apart from the farmers' question, I mean, farmers' issues, this movement has taken up. I want Amandeep to contribute to it and how to understand the whole movement and the source of it and how it broadens our ideas about resistance and justice.
Yeah.
No, I can't add anything to what you have said, but I see these as good. I mean, the September Muzaffarnagar rally was huge, and even before that, they had done what is called a Noon Lota Shapat. They had done it on 31st of January 2021, like 4 days after the Republic Day events, which I think last time they had done it when the British had occupied that areas. Like, so the two communities, they mixed salt with water and they drank it, and they said, now we are like the salt and water. Nobody can separate us. These are nice symbolic gestures. They have value in their time, but we have to see them in the long run whether it plays out. I mean, like, so I personally don't like to make heroes out of anybody. Human beings to me are very fickle. They're very guided by their own local politics and opportunities that they have in front of them. It's a public forum. I don't want to really criticize anybody here, but I think this is bubbling inside me, so I should say it. That yes, no doubt Rakesh Tikayat saved Sikhs on that night on 28th January when he cried on media publicly. And within the night, 4,000-5,000 youth from Haryana driving through intense fog and zero visibility, they reached the site, and then people from UP also came. He said, "Give me water from my well." So everybody came with water. This was a great solidarity. To me, it was a mid-race baton change between Singhu border and Ghazipur border, because after that, for 2, 3, 4 months, Tikayat became this great farmer leader, and Singhu had fallen between what is the left ideology and the Sikh ideology. There was crisis there. But the baton changed. Before that, Punjab was the engine of the protest. But after that, what happened is Punjab took a backseat, and the others went ahead and did these hundreds of Mahapanchayats, spreading the message of the protest in North India. Even the Bengal campaign happened. Even they came down to South India, to Bangalore, they came here. First time after years, after Professor Nanjaswamy, I would hear the Kannada Rajya Raita Sangha, like what Devegowda did to it, we all know. So, but I don't see them as permanent solutions to us, because notice that Tikayat is the only one who could reach Lakhimpur Khedi, where 4 farmers and 1 journalist were mowed down by we know who. And he was the one instrumental in getting the first FIR filed. And it is on the basis of that that everybody is on bail today. So there was something going on there. Similarly, Naresh Tikayat was his elder brother, was the one who went and did not let the wrestlers, immerse.
Looks like Amandeep has lost his connection. Okay. Anyone else who wants to come in while he reconnects? Madhurima, anything to say? Yes, Madhurima, go ahead.
Yeah, so I would just say what I liked about the film. So it has already been said by many different persons. So I liked how the film presents the narrative, how it includes the perspective of the farmers and laborers of the marginal castes and classes, and how it even differentiates that how the marginal women laborers, they face the problems differently than those of men, how it contextualizes the issue historically and internationally, and how it points out how the media has presented the issue, and how the political economic critics have reacted to it, how all these different viewpoints have been juxtaposed in an interesting manner. That was really interesting to me about the film, and it almost felt like an attempt to create a historiography of the issue through simultaneously constructing and deconstructing different narratives. And another thing I liked about the film, there are the use of various economic terms which might not be known to all the common audiences. So I liked how the film has attempted to describe all these terms in a very lucid manner. It was really interesting to me. Thank you, Amandeep sir and Kesari sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thanks, Madhurima. Amandeep, sorry we lost you for a little bit. So you want to go back to complete what you were saying?
Not, it's getting late in the night also. But no, it's just to say that, yeah, good things happen. But let us keep the possibility of them being misused as well. I'm a big cynic, I'm not into hero worshipping at all of anybody. So there are implications of the good they do, then they misuse it as well. So, but yeah, good civil society apologize for once. Good thing.
Yeah. Anyone else? Sridhar, anyone else?
I just want to say, if I may
Nandini,
come,
yes,
one
please.
was almost feeling that the diaspora, which plays such a terrible role otherwise, in this case, the Sikh diaspora, the way it came in, I thought was quite, especially in the context of the crackdowns on social media by the Indian government, it was quite amazing. And the other thing that really struck one was the way in which, at one point, everybody in Punjab had somebody out there. There was such an identification. I mean, it was really very, very interesting to see that, friends from Punjab, anyone you spoke to had somebody out there. So I think these two things really were quite unusual. The way in which the diaspora was also marshaled, news was coming out by people on the ground. There were networks that were established of information flow in the face of the government's crackdown. It was quite remarkable. So this is something that, when one's talking about social media and so on, I think this is also something that was very striking about these protests. Because the Indian diaspora is not really known to play a very positive role in recent years. So this was very interesting and very heartening.
Okay, thank you very much, Nandini. Any final comments before we close the discussion, either from Kesari or from Amandeep or anyone else who wants to say something that you have forgotten to bring up?
Nikhila,
Okay.
I request you one thing.
Yes.
Uh, kindly post me all the questions. I could not listen to all the questions. There was, well, I do not have to repeat this. Well, I'm in a bad situation of network. So please post me questions by tomorrow morning. I'll try to answer by tomorrow evening. And I really listened to many of the opinions that came across, and I really would like to respond to them. Unfortunately, I could not really participate in the way I was supposed to. I was expected to. I'm extremely sorry with all the participants, and I really would like to come back to you with my responses by tomorrow evening. Please post me questions. I request Nikhila this.
Sir, there weren't too many questions. I think everyone was largely appreciative of the wonderful film that you have made. I will certainly share the video with you. I think you will be able to listen to all the comments that everyone has made. There weren't too many questions that needed to be addressed very urgently. So you are most welcome to send us your response, sir, if you feel that there was any question that you would have liked to respond to. Otherwise, we really thank you for making, first of all, for making this film. And for coming and being a part of Talking Films Online's discussion. It is late in the night. We always begin on Saturdays at 9 and go on well into the evening like this. But we really appreciate all of you for taking time out from your schedule to join in these discussions. Also, a very warm thanks to Amandeep for joining the discussion and for laying out so many issues and also responding to so many questions that came up in the course of the discussion. Thanks to both of you, and we hope you will come back again on TFO to participate in yet another film discussion. So in the meanwhile, the next 2 Saturdays of this month, we will again continue with our discussion of films on farmers. We'll meet again on Saturday at 9 p.m. Hope to see you all. Good night and have a nice weekend. Bye.
Good night.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Tarakeshwar and
Thank you,
Nikhila.
Aman.
Yeah, thank you, Tarakeshwar.
Thank you. Good night.
And
you next week.
I
Good night.
particularly want to thank Amandeep for in a way compensating me, in a way representing me, and he has really wonderfully come out with a very wonderful background about the Punjab history of farmers and the farming issues in the beginning of this discussion. And I thank everyone who have joined here, and I really would like to communicate to you all through my a small writing by tomorrow evening if I really get a feedback on what really happened, because I missed out a lot. I am sorry for this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Have
Thank
a good
you.
night. Yeah, have a good night and see you all next Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.